Looks like somebody was trying to dig to get out.
That's probably just something there.
Probably where the toilet paper was.
Where they exercise.
Did you see that?
Yeah. It's too bad. Well, I think you got to figure out where it's coming from. If you go to the warden
What does it say?
house, it's free to donate whatever you like. You'll see.
Well, I just started in
It's like, now is it at the museum? It's free, it's right across the street. At the museum? From the wood, yeah, it's a donation. And you'll see, from the museum, it's the warden's house, not the museum. And we have all the inmate records and all the, it's more inmate oriented, that one.
Like the one that the guy got in with all the trays.
Yeah, it's my best thing. I know. Sure. That's their exercise. Outside exercise.
Yeah, 5 days. If you were an inmate in this institution, you would not want to be in this unit because everything is solitary. Like only one cell door open at a time. You have nobody to talk. You can't play cards. Nothing. They go
It's a long
home.
24 hours a day.
Yeah. So
Solitary. Is a murderer living in solitary all the time? Does that ever happen?
the
Like dangerous offender kind of idea?
The fact that the crime that a person committed does not dictate where they're going to be.
It's what they recommend. It's what
My
they do once they're
personal opinion is for somebody to end up in protective custody, it's not because of the crime they committed, but the publicity they received after the fact. I know of police officers that have done their time in general population in this institution. They have a full-time job. Pardon?
Out of prison, like we're talking about prisoners, ex-cops.
Well, some of them could be.
Yeah. Putting their babies.
Okay, can we just step around the corner?
No? Oh,
Thank you.
Sorry.
Hey, Mr. Burns, how are you? I'm good, thanks. I'm glad to hear that. I guess we come back over. We're a very large group in a very small area, so we'll carry on in.
Well, you would, because more soldiers coming
Yeah,
here.
I'm going to shout on that right here.
Oh, okay. All right. Our questions are.
I said our questions get ahead of the game.
Did you ever have anyone who would seek solitary just to like get away from the psychological
I
trauma?
personally,
in general?
no, I did not. I don't.
To be on the own for a little while?
If they were requesting solitary, it certainly wouldn't be these units or that unit. That is punitive.
So you would have something like a quiet room for someone who was, would feel that they needed.
No way.
It's stressful.
You're in prison?
That's what you're supposed to
Supposed to be.
That's right.
Okay, I'm going to repeat myself. 15 days solitary confinement for violating the rules and regulations of the institution. At the end of the 15 days, you go back to your cell and general population. If you become a repeat offender, your attitude and behavior is detrimental to the safety and the security of the institution. You're going to end up in long-term segregation, lower H block. This particular unit is almost identical to that, but this is protective custody. As an inmate, I bet a carton of cigarettes on a ball game, and I lost. The inmate that I owe the carton of cigarettes is, Carl, pay up. Well, I don't have a carton. I can't get a carton. I fear for my life. I fear for my safety. I go to the staff, relay the problem with the carton of cigarettes. And because I fear for my life, I dare not mention the inmate that I owe it to, because then I'd be a rat. Because I fear for my safety, I end up in protective custody. If at the end of 30 days the problem cannot be resolved, I'm going to lower Havelock for the duration of my sentence. Now, using the inmate committee to negotiate the problem, it probably can be resolved. Because if I'm in lower A block, he is never going to get his carton of cigarettes. Where if I'm in general population, I'm making at least $1 a day. Through time, I can pay off my debt.
I wouldn't be taking any bets, are you?
Why would you make a bet if you can't pay off?
For something to do.
But why does that become?
Why are they even in jail? I mean, if that's
I use that strictly as an example.
Right.
I fear for my life, I fear for my safety, I need protective
If I
custody.
were in here, I'd be fearing for my safety all the time.
Any other questions?
Did you make a lot of bets with the convicts?
I said, as an inmate, I made a bet. I wouldn't dare do that.
And what brand of cigarettes do you smoke?
There were limited numbers in the institution. Any other questions? Enjoy your tour and thank you very much.
Sweetie, heading down this way now, everybody. Around some corners.
Somebody's good at walking backwards.
Oh yeah, I had to learn how.
Doesn't even have to beat people.
At the beginning of the summer, I was tripping over things and going backwards over pylons. I still run into things, but I've been doing this like pretty much every day for 2 months, so I kind of know the layout of the tour.
Yeah. Me too.
Alright, you look at everybody to jump with us.
Yeah.
Are you smoking anything?
No. After 2009, smoking was banned in all federal institutions.
Was it?
Yep, no staff, no inmates, no visitors. If the staff wanted to smoke, they had to go to Sparks Road.
That makes sense, yes.
Before that, I take it was kind of gross in here. A lot of smoke flying around everywhere.
Watch out.
Oh, see? Told you I still do it. Alrighty, so we're just going to collect everybody. We will be heading down past where Carl was saying long-term stay is again. That is lower H block. Last time we were going past it. Also, the hallway we're going to be going down is where the washrooms are. So if you do need to use them, that is what they are there for. Just please let somebody you know you're with know, because I cannot see very well in that hallway and I don't want to leave you in here when we go outside. So we'll be heading this way. Typically, it is not this night.
Yeah, here it can be hot in here sometimes when it's humid.
Oh, yes. And it can also be very, very cold. Whenever we started in May, everyone was doing this like multiple sweaters. It was chilly. Alrighty, we'll get everybody in here. Yep, so washrooms are here. We'll get everybody inside. Alrighty. Yeah, we're lucky today. Typically, I don't know where all these breezes are coming from, but I'm loving it. So we are in the programs hallway right now. So like, who is the main dog? Gerard. He was mentioning in the 71 riot that protective custody was down this hall. It got so badly destroyed, they actually just shut the door in this hallway and left it for 20 years. But in the 90s, when they did the retrofits and when they put the armored post in the middle, they put all the meshing in, they also made this the programs hallway. So you would come down here at night if you had an AA meeting, any sort of group counseling, you're meeting with John Howard Society, a literacy group, all those sorts of things. It's just a bunch of big classrooms. Some lights aren't the ones down at the end if you want to take a peek, but I'm telling you, it's just big classrooms. And the library was also down here, so you can see some pictures of it besides where it was. Looks like a library. One thing that was never withheld from you in this institution was books. Learning is never a bad thing, so the inmates were highly suggested to use the library. So, for example, if you were at internal court and Carl was talking about that, you could be fined, whatever. You also could be put OP or off privileges. So say you got OP for 3 days, that would mean you couldn't go to the yard, your TV's taken away. However, you were always able to use the library or read. Books are never a bad thing. So that was never ever withheld from the inmates. Do we have everybody? Anyone watching? Alrighty, perfect. We're gonna head outside then. I will count when we get out there, but I trust you. I just cannot see in this hall. So yeah, open rooms, libraries, is right here.
Just a library.
That's what I said. It's a library. Alrighty, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, what does it have? Perfect. So we're going to be heading past the Aboriginal grounds to go to the shop dome. As we head this way, this is one I just need to ask. Please no pictures of the sweat lodge, structure with no camera sign in front of it. It is a sacred space, so we've just been asked to refrain. So we're going to be headed this way. I'm not going to run into the building, past the building. So just like by law in Canada, you have to have space at your penitentiary for a chapel or something like that. You also have to have indoor and outdoor space for Aboriginal spiritual ceremonies. So that started in the 1980s. So after the 1980s, all penitentiaries have a setup similar to this. The only difference being it is surrounded by fencing. So here, it was only used by the Native Brotherhood in accordance with the Native Liaison Officer and a Native Elder from the community. They would do weekly healing ceremonies, monthly sweats, seasonal ceremonies, and they also ran a bunch of programming on Aboriginal culture, heritage, and history to allow people to, reconnect with where they came from. I also want to ask you, as you head into the shop dome, to turn your attention to the building and notice that it's stucco, and that looks kind of weird in the middle of a limestone institution. That is because there was a riot in 1954. And basically the outcome of this riot was they burned down 80% of the shop dome and a little bit of the main dome. Now I think this is a huge tragedy. You're going to notice when we get inside, the shop dome has some of the nicest architecture in the institution. Also, I'm going to point out as we head in, that beam up there, if I don't, I hear whispers. It's not used to hang people. No one was hung at KP, it happened down at the courthouse. That was used for lifting heavy machinery. So we're going to head on inside. I'll hand it over to Gordon and we'll be on our way. Wow.
There's a really big echo here, so I try to talk quieter. I worked for corrections for 35 years. I worked here in KP for 11 of those years. And in case you thought all the retired staff were correctional officers, I was in human resources, which is really strange standing here talking about prisons, but that's the way it went. So this is the shop dome. It was built in the 1840s. It was built expressly to provide manufacturing space to private manufacturers. They would pay the prison, use the space, use the inmates, create quality goods, and undercut all of their competition. So the competition wasn't terribly happy. They did a lot of complaining. Eventually all this went away. So then the prison decided that they would use the space. They would use the inmates, the space, get contracts, hire people to teach the inmates what needed to be done in order to fulfill those contracts. So when I was here, this was the metal shop, above was the upholstery shop. Together they made office furniture, metal shelving units, that kind of thing. And they sold only to other government departments or non-profit agencies. Above here is the canvas repair shop. They repaired the canvas mailbags that Canada Post used. They did that from the mid-1800s till 2009 when the shop closed. There's also trade shops. So we've got a carpenter shop here. In the wing behind us, we've got shops for plumbers and masons, painters, and electricians, and they kept the institution going. We also had a school here. You'll see it up. Large uplifted archway was our school. It was a fully accredited school. It had principal and teachers. Inmates were encouraged when they came into the prison system to continue their education in order to achieve a high school diploma. They could go beyond that, but it would be at their own cost. There was also apprenticeship programs that ran through the trade shop and the kitchen in conjunction with the school. So in the 1980s, there was a hostage taking in here. The upholstery shop instructor was taken hostage by one of his inmates who had gotten high on something in the shop. Correctional officers were posted above here and here, and they were armed. As the inmate brought his hostage out, and he was bringing him down the stairs, he was making a lot of threats about what he was going to do, and it started to look like he was going to make good on those. So this officer got the word, and he shot and killed the inmate. The instructor, who was an older gentleman, he chose to take several weeks off, recover from that, recover from a knife wound on his neck, and he returned to work until he retired.